there was a bidding war to sign you, and you were eventually signed by Atlantic. I think you were probably 21. I mean, just help me understand how you, when you go back and you think of that time, I mean, going from having nothing to a bidding war to sign you to a major label. I mean, did you even have time to sort of reflect on how just insane, just crazy that was? Just what a strange turn of events, or did it seem like a natural progression for you, given that, you were playing at coffee houses and that you were building up an audience?
I was 19 when I got discovered. It was surreal. Like, I remember Nancy being like, Jewel, Sony, I think it was Atlantic that first came. Jewel, Atlantic Records called. They're going to come tonight to your 8 o'clock show. And I was like, interesting. And in a coffee shop of all, surfer culture, there's like 2 suits. You're like, you two must be from the record label. 5-hour show. Don't let anybody use the restroom until my break, halfway through it. If they talked, I would call them out. And then it was Sony, and then it was RCA, and then it was Arista, and then it was every single label.
Wow.
And it was very weird. It was like, it was a Cinderella moment. It was bizarre, scary. I went to the library and I asked for a book about the music business, and there was one book on the shelves. And it was by Donald Passenheim, called Everything You Need to Know About the Music Business. And I was like, that'll work. And it taught me about contracts. It taught me about royalties, mechanicals, the whole system, how the whole thing worked. And that was really helpful. So I now had what was I solving for? I'm solving for, I do want a career, but I just learned how to be happy. I don't want a career at the sake of being happy. So it's not at any cost. So what is the cost? What am I willing to pay? What price am I willing to pay? And then how can I build a strategy to create an environment, to create an outcome I hope to have? And so money had a big part to do with that. I was offered $1 million signing bonus, and that wasn't a solve to my problems. That actually was a problem I had to solve, because as I read the book, I realized it was, I knew nothing's for free, right? You don't grow up on a ranch and think, oh, somebody's going to hand out $1 million. What was the cost? The book taught me the cost, and the cost was very high. I owed that money back through record sales. The way record sales work is you get a fraction.
Yeah.
Not very much, a fraction of $1 on every record sale. Then to promote a career would probably take a couple $1 million on top of that. Let's say at minimum, to break my first record, it would cost me maybe $3 million. I could just do the math on how many records I had to sell to break even. It was a very high number of records.
Yeah.
Now, I had to look at my environment. What was working in the music business? Grunge. What was I? Not grunge.
Yeah.
And so the same way I didn't think singing was about me, as a kid, it was just about the novelty of my age. I felt like I had a real audience reaction. You can't fake that. I knew that. I knew I could get that reaction out of people. Did that mean the bidding war was about me? Not really. I think it became a competition about each other. And so don't take that personal. Don't get arrogant. Get what you want out of this moment. And what I wanted was, A, to learn if happiness was a buildable skill. 2, I wanted a music career. I wanted a 60-year career. Now, how do I solve for that? So I made kind of a hierarchical, what I call my North Star decision. Number 1, I had to learn to be a happy whole human, not a human full of holes, which meant I had to have a business plan for that. That meant I had to be accountable. It meant I had to be able to audit it. I had to have increments of measurements of, was I doing better or was I doing worse? And that I would always put that above my career. And then number 2, my job was to be a musician. And then what did I want out of being a musician? I wanted to be an artist more than I wanted to be famous. Mm-hmm. And so I was able to make all my decisions based on that hierarchy. And it started right away. It started with turning the money down. It started with taking the biggest back end anybody had ever been given in the music business. And for every 1 million albums I would sell, it went up a whole point. It was a really cool deal. Now, it didn't mean anything. And I got my necessities covered. I got rent covered. So now I wasn't surviving. I could move my mom and my brother in. And then I had to make an authentic record, not a popular record. So I turned down all the hit producers, all the pop producers. I found Ben Keith, who did Harvest and Harvest Moon with Neil Young. I made a very simple folk music, mostly live at the coffee shop because I didn't even know how to be with a band. And I wasn't going to be something I wasn't. I couldn't figure out how to play in time with a band. That was life. And so that's how that album became live. And then I turned down The Real World, the very first big reality TV show. My label was like, Jewel, you'll go from being homeless to moving into this house to making your album on camera. You're going to be famous before you even
They
launch
wanted
the
you to
album.
be a character on The Real World, the first
That was my
season
first gig. That was my first real offer.
Wow.
Yeah. I hadn't even made my album yet.
And they would basically, you'd be one of the people in the house who was an up-and-coming singer. I mean, that could have been a huge... And you sign this deal where all of the upside goes to you if it works, but the chances that that first record, Pieces of You, was going to be successful was not guaranteed. I mean, just because of the way the industry works. I mean, how many people were signed the same year you were signed who also had really good albums, but just they never took off? So there was a lot of risk you were taking on by making those choices.
Yeah, but they were in alignment with my hierarchical decision making. And if you're going to create a decision making process, you better be loyal to it. You know what I mean? It's like, what else is it for? And so, again, turn down the money. You look at this thing. Okay, I made an authentic record. Good. Would it help an authentic record to be on a hit reality TV show? Probably. Would it be too quick? Probably. Does hardwood grow slowly? Yes. If something grows too quickly, especially when I don't have the internal architecture to handle that kind of rapid growth, would I do well? Would that serve my number one job of being happy? Would I like to live in a home where I'm filmed 24/7 with my panic attacks and shit?
Right.
No. So I stayed really loyal. A, it wouldn't make me happy. I knew I'd suffer psychologically. B, it was going to be too quick. God forbid it work. Which is a weird thing to say. God forbid it work. Go slow, stay loyal to slow, steady growth. I turned it down and I failed for 2 years. It was awful.